All right, joining me now, Jonathan Turley, George Washington University law professor, constitutional law attorney, and Fox News contributor. Jonathan, as always, thank you so much. So, Jonathan, for your column today, who is lying, Merrick Garland or the whistleblowers? Where do you come out?
Well, where I come out is that somebody is clearly lying, and that may create issues that are potentially criminal, even impeachable. We just don't know. But we need to figure that out. We need to start calling people into Congress. That includes Hunter Biden. You know, all of this obstructive and these weird statements of questioning whether the laptop is really his, whether this message is really his, that nonsense will come to us to an end if congressional subpoenas pull in some of these people. And what we know is that the statements made by these various parties do not consistently read together, that somebody is lying. These whistleblowers said that Weiss told them that there was an attempt to present these charges into other jurisdictions. He was prevented from doing so, that he wanted to get special counsel powers, was denied that. And then you've got Attorney General Garland saying the absolute opposite, that there were no such limitations, no efforts. Someone is obviously lying. Now, on top of all of that, these specific allegations come with some self-authentication. You know, the whistleblower, the main whistleblower, is citing meetings with the names of witnesses. He says he has things like a memo that was a contemporaneous record that was circulated among some of these witnesses. Nobody challenged him on what Weiss said. All of that was made as a statement to Congress that is subject to prosecution if it is false.
Jonathan, you are writing in quotes, okay? The line that stood out the most was this, quote, U.S. Attorney Weiss stated that he subsequently asked for special counsel authority from Maine DOJ, Maine Justice, at that time and was denied that authority. There were a bunch of people in the room when that statement was made. So I don't want to influence your decision. That's not my job. But you're right. I mean, what you're writing here is, shall we say, at least somewhat self-evident as to who was telling the truth and who wasn't.
Yeah, the problem that I have is that during this time, many of us were writing how the refusal of Garland to appoint a special counsel was becoming otherworldly. I mean, you could not investigate these transfers, including the tax implications, without stumbling over references to the president as the big guy, benefits that supposedly would go to him. And so none of us could understand how Garland was intellectually even coming to that conclusion. Well, what these whistleblowers are saying is that within the Department of Justice, there was a concern about the independence of the investigation, and they're saying that Weiss assured them that he had, in fact, asked for that status. Now, someone's obviously not telling the truth. Did Weiss lie to the team? Or is Garland aware that that request was made? It's hard to believe that he wouldn't be if it was made.
Other stuff that's sort of coming unhinged here. First of all, let me come to Comer. Chairman Comer doesn't want a special counsel because he thinks it would just be a Justice Department cover-up. Does he have a point?
Well, at this point he does, because they've pretty much closed out the investigation. They've waited 5 years. Statutes of limitations have run. There is no real evidence of a good faith investigation into the influence peddling matter. The Hunter Biden legal team said, their lead lawyer said, I was never asked about the laptop. I didn't have any real recollection of it playing a role here. So that's hardly a reassuring basis to appoint a special counsel. But pretty much the horse has already left the barn. And so I can see why Congress wants to say, look, we'll take it from here. And keep in mind, if any of these people lie to Congress, it is a new crime, a new statute of limitations, and the Department of Justice is supposed to prosecute it.
Yes, sir. Jonathan, if you had to make book, you know, this sweetheart deal that Hunter Biden got on tax evasion and guns and so forth, what do you think the judge is going to say? In the light of information that was existing, perhaps new information, opinion columns like yourselves, various media cover, I mean, do you think the judge, I don't even know who the judge is, but do you think this judge is going to buy into this so-called deal that they made with Hunter Biden?
Well, Larry, a lot of people have been suggesting the judge should not take this at face value, should really push them for more answers. I don't think that's going to happen. Most federal judges would view that as outside of their rightful domain, because essentially he would be saying, couldn't you have charged him with something else? And that doesn't sit well with most judges. It probably wouldn't sit well with the appellate court. So I don't expect that will happen.
All right. Jonathan Turley, thank you. As always, as I say,